Hey guys, what's going on? Welcome back. Jesus loves you. So, looking at this new timeline, pretty interesting. Makes a lot of sense. Just saw a video for it, posted it on the community wall if you want to check it out. And I'm going to be going over it this Thursday on the live stream. So what it is if you start, the rapture happens, let's say 9/11, Feast of Trumpets, either the 11th or 12th this year. 7 years later, in 2033, it would land on the Day of Atonement, Yom Kippur, which a lot of people believe that would be the second coming date, the rapture being on Feast of Trumpets, right? We know that. We're looking at this year anyway. So some really interesting numbers line up in this timeline. The middle of the tribulation would actually land on Nissan 17, which would be when Jesus was resurrected. First fruits. Now, in the middle of the tribulation seems to be where the Antichrist gets imbued with Satan and becomes the son of perdition, as before in the first 3.5 years he was the man of sin, right? First 3.5, he's not really come into his kingdom yet, so to speak. In the second half he does, and a lot of people believe that's when he will have the deadly head wound and do this false resurrection. Wouldn't it be interesting if that happened on Nissan 17? So he's doing a false resurrection and a false Jesus thing, which we know he's going to say he's God, maybe he's going to say he's Jesus. He's going to seat himself in the temple as God, demanding worship like that. Now, if you push it out, Daniel gives us more days outside of those 7 years where he talks about the temple being rededicated, right? From the time of the abomination of desolation until the cleansing of the temple would be a certain amount of days. I'm blanking on it right now. I don't remember if it's like 1335. You guys know what I'm talking about, right? Because you have the 2550 days of the tribulation, and then you have that extra, right? That would actually land on this model. It would land on Hanukkah, the rededication of the temple. Interesting. Now, in this model, what you have is, if you have the Feast of Trumpets on this September 11th and 12th, which is when the Jews do it this year, the tribulation doesn't start right on that day. There's actually a 75-day in-between period from the rapture until the tribulation starting, which is possible. We've all said this, like it's possible that there might be this delay. So the delay of 75 days in particular is a biblical pattern we see at least twice in the Bible that are very significant. I'll start with the most significant first. When the 69th week of Daniel ended, when Jesus rode into Jerusalem on a donkey, from that point until the start of the church age, 75 days. Very interesting. Another big one was back in Genesis, back in the Old Testament. Noah, from the time he looks out and the ark stops and that he steps on land, it's a 75-day gap from when he stops and looks outside and sees some water, it's receding, then God tells him to walk out. It was 75-day gap. So interesting. Maybe there'll be that 75 gap. So we see that pattern. If you apply that pattern to 9/11 this month, the gap to the tribulation, 75 days, it lands on November 8th this year, which would be the start of the tribulation. Is there anything happening around November 8th? Oh yeah, that's right, the Noahide laws. From like November 2nd to November 6th, they're talking about doing this Noahide law convention, putting in the Noahide, and we know that that probably is the laws of the tribulation. So that's pretty wild, right? Obviously, I'm not saying we know for sure. I'm not saying thus saith the Lord. I never have. I never will. That's not my deal. This is just really interesting, these numbers. So obviously, this year is huge, 2026. By the way, these numbers and this lining up of the feasts doesn't work for a long time from now, right? So it's kind of like a last window before these line up as such. And obviously, we've been talking about it forever. We have 7 years until the end of the 6,000 years from the beginning of sin entering the world. That's the millennial week idea. And also 2,000 years from when Jesus was crucified and resurrected. Right, so 2026 is the last window for that 7 years to the 33 AD crucifixion, 2033 return to work. It only works within this year. That's why a lot of us have been saying this is it. Or is this it, right? Either way, this is a big deadline for us all, right? So you have that. Also, we have Israel being a nation, The fig tree generation, they're 78 now. We can't push that much further out either. So right now we're at the perfect spot where we're 7 years out, and Israel would turn 80 in the middle of the tribulation in 2030. So if that happens, and also in the middle of the tribulation, right at the middle, you have the Antichrist potentially getting the deadly head wound, rising on Nissan 17, the same day that Jesus rose, and he's saying he's the Messiah. You have all the other Jews who accept Yeshua in the first 3.5 with the 2 witnesses, the 144,000, all the miracles, all that stuff, realizing, right, that's that national, finally, when they say, blessed is he who comes in the name of the Lord, they finally accept Jesus or Yeshua. Then they will leave, right? And that will be the last day for them to leave. And that's where Jesus says, when you see what Daniel speaks about, the abomination of desolation sitting where it ought not, right? That's that Antichrist sitting in the temple. He's like, that's, you got to be out. Now, many of them might be already out before that, right? But that's the last point. If you see that, that's when he says, don't even go get your stuff, like run, right? Pray that it's not on the Sabbath. And that's how we know it's not talking to us, because Christians don't follow Sabbath. Some do, myself included. But as a whole, the Christian community doesn't do that. So Jesus was talking to the Jews back then. He's talking about the tribulation. So this is a big, interesting window. This is an interesting timeline. It goes together with the other timeline that I was looking at, which is the 3-month window starting this fall for the rapture, start of tribulation. Mid would be the spring in 2030, and then the fall again in 2033, right? It's that 3-month window. So now, kind of narrowing it down, looking at the Feast of Trumpets, as all of us will be this year, all the Rapture watchers will be watching Feast of Trumpets. We say it's the Super Bowl of watching, right? Some people are also looking at this, the 12th this month, and it's all good. We keep watching, we keep looking. So I just wanted to present this timeline. It's super interesting. Obviously, I'm not even going to mention all the signs that are there, right? A quick one. We just heard that Iran came out and said to America, they're not going to sign any peace deal until America brings all their forces out and does all these, Iran is putting demands on America that they're never going to agree to. And they said, if you don't do it, we're going to string this out as long as possible. And there's been, thoughts of 2 years at least being floated. We know it's going to be more than that. It's going to be at least 7 years. Right, but even the mainstream media and normal media channels are saying that means we're going to be involved at least another 2 years. So here we go. Rising gas prices. The Strait of Hormuz is not open. It's not going to open. It's just, you know what I mean? It's like everybody's railing against the gospel, against the pre-tribulation rapture. That I'm becoming more convinced might be the great falling away. Specifically against the gospel. A lot of people think it's about being against the pre-trib rapture. I would favor it being against the gospel, because that, for me, is the greatest falling away, right? Pre-trib, post-trib, that's not salvational doctrine. This is the gospel message. It's a salvation issue, right? What do you believe in? What do you put your faith in? So we have all that. We have the UFO disclosures. It's just nonstop. So, again, and we always say this, but it's true. If you just look at the signs of the times and you don't even know anything about numbers or dates or feast days or dispensations, just looking at the signs, you would be like, yeah, seems like the rapture could really be soon, most likely. Add that on top of the numbers, and I get it. We've been reworking numbers. We've heard numbers before. Many of you guys, maybe you're sick of hearing this, and I kind of am too. But I'll tell you what, this timeline, it hits in a certain way. It hits right. You know what I mean? Like it makes a lot of sense. So again, I'm not saying it's going to happen. Never said it's going to happen. The guy who presented it, he presents it in front of a whole church. So there's a whole church that's interested in this stuff. So that's cool. You find a church that's like open to talking about that, Robert Breaker is also bringing up ideas like this and models like this, saying, the whole no one knows the day or the hour thing, giving an explanation on that, and also looking at dates and saying it's okay to do this. And that's what the guy who made this video is as well. I'll put a link in here so you guys can check it out. It's super interesting. So you know, we're gonna keep watching. Just wanted to present that to you guys. We're gonna continue on this, continue on looking at, and if it passes, and that's part of the video, what do? We keep serving Jesus. We keep preaching the gospel. Right? Amazing stuff. So that's coming up soon, right? It's almost like it's almost a month away. From today, it's a few days from a month away. So let me know what you guys think. Super interesting times. And keep watching, keep looking up, keep coming back. Love you. See you soon. Jesus loves you. Peace.